Well, thank you guys for joining me. This is your host, Heidi Jester, back in John Tiller here doing our video tutorial introductory series. And we're going to be going through some important stuff as we looked at the last episode, keeping our units in the best state, the best quality that we can, keeping them as low as fatigue and making sure we get as good a bonuses and the least amount of penalties we can get. And what we're going to talk about in this episode is we're going to talk about what happens at the beginning of your turn and how your headquarters are going to do a different command test, and that's going to influence whether or not your units are going to rally. As you can see here, here is our command report. Smoke available, full 15. We have 4 of our 7 units have rallied. So we did a good job of keeping everyone in good locations. You notice there is nothing here about any headquarters that had failed their test. If any of your headquarters are out of command, it would say 1 out of 10 headquarters are out of command or something like that. We do not have that. So that means every one of our headquarters are in command. Beautiful. And we're going to show you all about that in this episode. So 4 of our 7 units are now have rallied from being disrupted. So we're not going to get that half fire penalty and a bunch of other penalties for being undisrupted. We're no longer going to lose our morale level on that unit that has been recovered. They're now back to normal morale level. If we look at our 3A 7 parachute battalion here, you notice his morale is still a C. It was a D, but he rallied. He's still a C because of his fatigue level is knocking it down a morale level. So instead of a B, it was at one point he went all the way down to a D, and that's what I mentioned last episode. They can go so quick. And 10 units recovered fatigue. So what happens at the beginning of the turn? Well, again, to go into this, we really need to talk about, and this is, again, I'm not the best at this, but I'm going to explain it to you because I always get confused with battalions and regiments and divisions and platoons and what's higher, what's lower, and that's just, I have a hard time with that. But if we go and we look at our uh, highlight, we're going to highlight all of our headquarters. Okay, so what happens at the beginning of the turn is whenever headquarters is the highest in the hierarchy from all your units, it's going to make a command test. So if we look at our headquarters here, you can see this is the 7th Parachute Battalion headquarters. All right, so that's second line down on the thing. If we look at this one here, this is our 6th Armored Division headquarters. So this is going to be higher level because it's a division headquarters, and you can see it's like number 3 on the list. So so this is going to be our highest level unit, and we can test that by if we go to our view and we go to highlight and we go to organization. If I double click my main headquarters, everything on the map should highlight because it's in charge. Everything is below it in command. All right. So now we've figured out, okay, this headquarters is the highest in command. All right. So what happens is I'm going to take this off so it doesn't distract us here. We're going to go back and just we'll just leave it on headquarters. There we go. All right, so what happens at the beginning of the turn is each of your headquarters, starting with the highest level headquarters, in this case, it's our 6th Airborne Division headquarters. And I should mention, if you go under view and you go into short organization, you can actually find out all of this information. So for the Americans, we have the 12th Army Group, or 3rd Army, or wherever the heck they are in the chain here. If I actually, yeah, so you can go through and find out based upon all your different units, what the hierarchy command is. All right, so just keep that in mind, and I would highly recommend you do this. Anyways, back to what I was talking about. The highest level headquarters is going to be making a command test, and it's going to find out whether or not it's in command or not. This test is a percentile dice roll behind the scenes. Obviously, we're not going to see any dice rolls, but it's going to be compared to our supply level. If we clicked on our supply level, you can see it's got the little US flag symbol on it here and shows a bunch of barrels. This is our supply point. There might be several supply points on the map. I think there's actually a way to highlight the supply points. Maybe there isn't. I thought there was, but maybe it's not under shade, is it? No, it wouldn't be under shade. It'd be under highlight. Oh, that's right. It's under view. So you can turn on or off. Make sure your supply sources are turned on so you can actually see them. You know where they're at, what they're about. If we click on it, you can see down here in the bottom left-hand corner, it says source, allied, and 90 in parentheses. So we own this supply source. We want to make sure we keep this supply source, and it's providing us 90 supply. And this is the number the percentile dice is going to get rolled against. So we have basically a 90% chance for our Supreme headquarters, in this case the 6th Airborne Division headquarters, to pass this test. It's going to pass 9 out of 10 times if everything goes right for you. It'll fail every time when you need it. That's just the way it goes sometimes, right? All right, so once it does its test, it's done. It doesn't do anything else because it's the highest level. It's either going to be in command or not going to be in command. Then what happens is it goes to the next subordinate headquarters, and it will then roll a test for this as well. And what will happen is this headquarters will do the same test that the headquarters above it just did. It's going to roll and check to see if it makes its percentile roll. If it fails its test, it then looks at the headquarters directly above it in the hierarchy, in this case the 6th Airborne Division headquarters, and it looks for guidance from them. And it sees whether or not they're in command or not. If this is out of command, then this headquarters doesn't get a second go. It doesn't get a second chance to recover. It's going to be out of command because the headquarters above it's out of command and it failed its test. So if your main headquarters passes its test and your subordinate then rolls percentile and it rolls say 94 and it fails its test, it's going to look at its higher level headquarters and it's going to see, oh yeah, this guy's in command. Guess what? I get another test, but it's not another test based upon the supply roll now. What it is it's a test based upon the distance it is from the headquarters. So the closer it is to the more higher level headquarters, the better chance it has of passing a test. If we were to right click on this, you can see that this headquarters, the 6th Airborne Division headquarters has a range of 81 hexes. Huge amount of range. And remember what we talked about in the previous episode, that if you are on the very edge of that test, you got a 50-50 chance of making it or failing it. So anything closer than that is going to give you obviously a better chance to pass it. So being obviously closer to the your higher level headquarters is going to give you a better chance. If you fail your original test, you fail your command test, then you're going to take a headquarter test to see if the headquarters above you can steer you in the right direction and keep you in command, basically, is what's happening here. So all of our headquarters pass their test. Now, we don't know whether or not, we know the main headquarters, the 6th Airborne Division, it only gets one test because it's the highest one. It rolled 90% or less, and we know that. The headquarters underneath it, we don't know if it passed or failed its test with that roll, or if it passed or failed its test with the headquarter above it being closer or farther away from it. And of course, if there was, say, this is a battalion headquarters, if there was something underneath this, let's say we had a corpse, say we had a core. I keep calling it corpse. Sorry about that. It is core. The S is silent. I've heard that many times. So let's say we had a core headquarters on this map. That would be the most superior one, and it would do just a single percentile test. and then the 6th Airborne Division headquarters would be subordinate to it. So if it failed its test, then it can always look at the 1st Corps um, for help and get a second test. So that's what happens there. So the first thing that happens is all your headquarters are either going to be in command or they're going to fail their test. And normally what ends up happening is if your main headquarters fails its test, then what happens is obviously a lot of your other headquarters start failing their tests because they'll fail the roll on this and they won't get to do another test because the higher level unit is out of command. And if it's out of command, then they don't get the second chance at it. The other thing that'll happen is if it does end up happening where your main supreme headquarters for your scenario passes its test, the headquarters that are really close to it all pass the test, and then your headquarters that are way far away from it will start failing because they have a less percentage chance. So, as we talked about, 81 hexes away, let's say this is 81 hexes, you had a 50-50 chance here. So right here, you only have a 25% chance of passing the test. Here you got about if it was 50-50 here, then you would have a 75% chance to pass here. If you were here, you'd be up to 80 to 90% chance to pass that second test. So those headquarters that are close to the main headquarters are going to be making 2 tests, and it's going to be a 90% chance, and then maybe 70, 80, another 90% chance. So they're going to pass, but what will end up happening is some of the headquarters out there, they'll end up failing the test. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to open this file again, and we're going to let it run another one of its processes here. So we're back to the end of turn 10. This is actually a game I've got online. If you've been new to my channel, you might want to check that out, and you can actually see from the beginning. We started recording this live, so we're going to go ahead and just I do have it on fast AI processing, so this will only take like literally less than a minute to complete, and a lot of things going on, blah blah blah, blah do 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 do, and we'll get our command. We'll get our report here in just a second once it's finishing its turn. Lots of attacks going on. No disruptions yet. I don't see any. That's good. Oh, we got a disruption there. They killed the vehicle. Oh, okay. So here we go. So we got smoke available, 15 still, because we didn't use any smoke. 3 out of our 10 headquarters are out of command, and 4 out of our 7 units checked have passed their disruption check and are no longer disrupted. So you can see now 3 of our headquarters actually failed the test. If we again go to view and we go to highlight headquarters, let's look and see if the ones that are farthest away failed. Nope, that guy actually passed. This guy's out of command here. This guy's out of command here. And this guy is disrupted and out of command. So very bad check there for our 5th Parachute Brigade headquarters. BTE. That wouldn't be battalion. What would it be? It would be brigade, because it's underneath the division. Again, I'm really bad with this stuff, so give me a break. So yeah, we had a couple that failed, as you can see, and that is all going to come in and apply to what we're talking about in the next episode, when we're going to talk about how our units actually, what happens with them, and how they recover, as our 4 of 7 recovered from being disrupted. How can we manage that, and what happens behind the scenes? So yeah, in this episode, we just want to talk about headquarters. You want to keep them. You want to keep your different organizations together. If we go back to organizations here, we can see this headquarter. Kind of keep them within the range. If we go to view, shade, command range, you can see they're well within the range of this headquarters in this scenario. And of course, you can find that by right-clicking on the unit card, headquarters 31, 31 spaces. So it's 31 this way and 31 this way. So really it's 62 spaces wide. So that's plenty of spaces in this scenario. But you want to keep them as close to that as well. And then your headquarters, you want to know where your main headquarters are, your higher level headquarters. Like I said, you might have a situation where you play a scenario where you have an Army group headquarters, and then you have a second Army headquarters, then you have maybe a couple Corps headquarters, then you have a couple division headquarters. And so there's a nice hierarchy trying to figure out, okay, where is my next highest level headquarters? How far away am I from that? What chance am I going to have of passing or failing this test? Now, every scenario is different. You might only have, say, supply sources, say, 50% or 60% or 70%. So if that's the case, you're going to be failing a lot more tests. So that means you're going to have to rely on your higher level headquarters to pass their test, so you can get that double test. So hopefully this made a little bit of sense to you guys, and understanding again the hierarchy and the possibilities of we haven't really talked about, okay, well, we want to be in command range for our units, but we also want to keep our headquarters in command range of its next higher level headquarters, and that headquarters has to be within range of the headquarters above it. And then if all that is happens, then you get the supply test, and then you get your headquarter test as well. So you get a double dose to make sure that you can try and pass these tests. And like I said, the most important thing is the second test is not based upon the supply source. It's based upon the higher level headquarters being in command, and then the distance you are from it, and it gives you a percentage of where it's at. So let's say, for example, this main headquarters is 81 hexes away. All right, so we know if we were 81 hexes away from this headquarters, we got a 50-50 chance of passing or failing the test. If I'm only, say, 20 hexes away, you can see that I'm going to go from a 50% chance up to, probably 85%, without getting out a calculator, as opposed to if I was way over here and I would say 40 hexes away. 40 hexes would give me half of the 81, so that would be 50, and 25 would give me 75. So if I was 40 hexes away, I'd have about a 75% chance of passing the headquarter test, which means if I'm 20 hexes away, I'm going to get another half of 25 is 12, 75, 87, 87.5. So about an 87.5% chance if I'm 20 hexes away. So you don't have to calculate all this out. Just take into note that the closer you are to the headquarters that is superior to you, as long as it's a command, the better chance you have of getting the second test pass if you pass your original test. Now in this case, 90%, we're only going to have to worry about it 1 out of every 10 times. But as you noticed, we did have 3 of our 10 headquarters fail. So it happens. If this guy fails your supreme headquarters, then you're going to have a lot of failures. And that's all going to, excuse me, that's all going to apply in the next episode when we talk about how our units rally and how that is associated with our headquarters and whether or not they're in command or not. So we want our headquarters to be in command, and we know now the general gist of how that happens. Now we want our units to be not disrupted. So let's find out in the next episode, how do we get our disrupted units to have a better chance of rallying? So we'll see you in that episode. Thanks so much for watching, and leave your thoughts, comments, suggestions below, and we'll see you guys next time.